And we're live.
Right.
Welcome to Rising Adults, episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about negotiating, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna do 5 tips that I personally have used in last few years of my adult life, and they were very helpful to me. So I want to share them, and hopefully they can be helpful to you too.
Yeah, man. So what do you have first for us? Actually, wait, hold on. What makes you the authority here? Why you think you could tell us about this?
Well, I think I realized that in the last few years of my life, your entire life is about selling,
Mm.
and I mean it has a lot to do with my role now and just in general dealing with more authoritative figures
Right.
and realizing that whether you are negotiating a salary or trying to buy a new car or just applying for a new job, you constantly selling yourself and your features and what you can do. However you look at it, you always selling something, right?
Right.
So I had to figure out, hey, what are some better ways that I can portray the things that, the values that I've already done.
Right.
And then you look at what you've done, how you can improve them, but also how you can make them your strengths, right?
Got you.
So, in my research to better help sell myself,
Right.
I came across this book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Right.
And among a bunch of tips that he lines up about negotiation and just selling yourself in general, I picked out a few of my favorite ones. Too close to this. Too close to this. Yeah.
All right. So without any further ado, let's get to tip number 5.
So tip number 5, I think it's important to know what you want. And I think before we start negotiating, before we do anything, we have to sit down and figure out what is exactly I want.
Right.
What salary I want, what kind of car I want, what color. What are the examples of things that you may want to list that you want? What kind of job you want, what role you want to be in, right? So you need those tools before you start asking, before you go to sit with somebody and they say, well, this is what we can offer you. And is that really what you want? Then if you have nothing to compare it to,
Right.
then there's no basis for the negotiation, right? So at the end of the day, I'm using salary a lot because it's a nice, common variable.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what you do and what you want in the role and you play in the company and everything is going to determine how much they're going to pay you and how much you can ask for. So I think it's important to sit down before you do anything and say, where realistically do I want to be? If it means listing your expenses, listing, trips you want to go on for the year and budgeting for that and seeing how much money you need to make, or say your rent is gonna go up, and what can you realistically afford before you go to negotiate and say, rent cannot go up because I can't pay for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that before you go into the negotiation, before you do anything, you know exactly what you want and what you're trying to achieve. That's very important.
I mean, rent's an interesting one. I mean, this apartment that I'm in right now is the first time I had to go do something like that, actually. My roommate and I, while looking for a third roommate, we found out that, they're about to hike up the rent. And it was something crazy, about 8%, and because of where we are, it's not capped. Like in some places, it's capped at a certain percentage. Like in New York City, it's 3% increase. That's the cap or something. Don't quote me on that. But this is not legal advice either. Disclaimer. But yeah, and we went through and we didn't have these tools. I wish we had done this episode before because this is something that I would have loved to have known going into trying to renegotiate my rent increase because we didn't really have a plan. We didn't know. We just knew 8% was too much, but we didn't have a reasonable expectation of okay, what can we actually offer? Maybe we, as you say, know what you want. Maybe we could have talked to some of the neighbors and been like, hey, how much did yours go up? Like so we had something to compare to. And I think that goes nicely into the next point, which is tip number 4, which is
Yeah, so that's actually a perfect segue because tip number 4 is you have to do your research.
Right.
Um, let's take your rent for example. So they say they want to increase the rent. What's the basis for that? Is property tax going up? Is water or utilities going up?
Mhm.
Are they building a new pool? Are they doing renovations to the gym? What is that? First of all, what is that increase about?
Right.
So it's important for you to find out about that. Then I picked up on another thing you said. You said in New York, the highest increase you can do is 3% or something like that. So if that really is a thing, you need to find out.
Don't quote me on that.
But for instance,
Right,
if
right.
that's a state law
Yeah.
or something, you need to find that out because all these are tools that you can have to sit down and say, hey, you cannot raise this, or this is what I want because for these reasons. It could mean a lot for a salary negotiation because if you know at what stage the company is at, you have to know research on yourself as well, right? Like, what have you done for the company? How much money have you made them? Um, if any, and if it's before you go on a job, like,
Yeah.
what in your past has helped you get to where you want to be and makes you qualified for that job? Is the company going bankrupt? Is the company making a lot of money? Or what ideas can you bring? Like, there's so much to. I mean, if you're buying property as well, like research the area, research the seller, research. Is this generally how they negotiate? Or do they normally drop their price after some pressure? So it's essentially the more you know about whatever you want to get. So first, know about yourself, and then second, know about who or what you're negotiating.
Right.
So
right.
those are very important because at the end of the day, you need to have tools in your back pocket to say, hey, this is who I need to be, and these are the reasons why. And if you have backup, then it's hard to say no to that, right?
Right.
Hard to say no to logic. Point number 3, offering a range. So I didn't really, I don't think I've ever done this, but I think maybe accidentally I've done it.
All right.
But it's funny that as I listened to, it was an audiobook. As I listened to the audio,
He doesn't know how to actually read, guys.
busy
Yeah.
lifestyle. I can't always read.
Right. That's what it is. He's busy.
But I realized that more and more I was seeing these principles in not only in everything and how people were interacting around me, the emails I was receiving from people in higher positions who have probably done a lot of negotiating in their life. Right. And the main point to take away is, so after you know what you want, so let's say you want a salary of, I don't know, $1,000 a month, whatever currency that is. It's just a placeholder.
Guyanese.
Yeah.
Guyanese dollars.
You know that. Now you know the company has been doing very well, and the position that you're applying for, you're going to end up making them even more money just because of your skill set and what the value they're going to bring to them. You should always ask for higher. I mean, this is sort of one of these unspoken things that like you kind of just have to do, but like you should know, but it kind of needs to be said aloud.
Right.
You want to ask for higher, and hopefully, not hopefully, if they do need to counter offer, they'll go lower. So in the end, everybody wins, right?
So are you saying like you say you want 80, you ask for 85 to 100 or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So you offer a range to give them some sort of perception of where you want to be. So I use $1,000. So you want your range to be slightly higher than that. So, and don't be afraid to go high. The whole point is, hey, let me throw out a number and kind of figure out where they want to end up. So if, let's say, I know that I've researched the company, I've researched myself, and I know $1,000 is going to do it for me. I'm going to bid and say, hey, I want between $1,500 and $2,000.
That far. That far
Absolutely. The further the better. And now the company is saying, well, if 1,500 is the lowest range, then that's probably about where they want to be. So it's all about saying, I keep saying company, but person, whatever. You could be in a store, haggling, whatever.
Right.
Like at a flea market, anything like that. So now this person is saying, well, they have a false perception of where your actual range is, right? So, and hopefully my employer is not listening, because I will definitely use this next year once contract stuff is up. But you've now created a different perception of where they think your lowest and highest numbers are.
No, but hold on. You say like you hope your employer doesn't see this, but I think one of the main points about this episode is they've been doing this for so long that they already know the game. They know this dance.
Yeah.
So even if it's kind of like you still have to go through it, and you don't want to be at a disadvantage coming into your first rodeo, and this they've done it a million times before, and
exactly.
we're at least trying to get you to a level where you understand the pieces that are in place and what moves you have to make, even though it's like a formality where, oh my god, they know, okay, you offer 90 but you want 80, even though, but don't go off of 80 so that they could talk you down to 75, is what we're saying. So at least now you're not starting from such a disadvantage in this when you finally get to the negotiation table in anything. For example, used car salesman. I mean, when I bought my first car, I was kind of at a disadvantage because I needed the car, right?
Yeah.
I was starting work the next week, and there was no other way to get to work. So looking back at it, I'm seeing places where I didn't even really try to negotiate the offer. You know, I saw the price and I was like, I guess I can afford. It was something I could afford, so I didn't even try to talk them down. So they're probably looking at me like, "You just pay for that." Like, now that I know how the system works, no one pays full retail sticker price when they go to a used car dealership, right?
Yeah.
When I say no one, I guess someone. just me. It's just me, but that would never happen to me again.
Yeah.
You know, but so. Just going off of that.
And it's important that you bring that up, because not really understanding, I call it a system.
Right.
It can be very frustrating because, for instance, you say, I know I'm worth $1,000. Right?
Yeah.
But the company is like, I'll give you 50. And you in your first instance will be, that's so disrespectful. Like, they don't value my work. I don't necessarily think that's always the case. And I think, and so if anyone knows me, like especially in like the last 6 months, I watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and Meredith was.
Wait, we have to check if our legal team before we proceed with this story. We don't. Hold on.
It's a show.
Yeah.
Are we good?
We don't have a legal team.
But just in general, she was lowball on salary, and all the other department heads were.
Change the names, not Meredith.
She was lowball on salary, and all the other department heads were kind of laughing at her. And in the end, she went to her boss and said, "Hey, why did you lowball me on salary? Like, I feel like I'm working hard." And she was going on and on.
Yeah.
And her boss was like, "Well, what do you want?" And she was like, so she wrote it down, gave it to her, and she's like, okay, no problem. And she was like, it's certainly not my job to be spending the hotel, spending the hotel's money if you don't ask for a higher salary.
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I always try to put myself in someone else's shoes. I'm not saying that in some cases people don't like give you lower salaries just because. But they're looking at it as, I'm going to give this person as much money as they ask for.
Right.
I'm not going to give. Yeah, at the end of the day, they're running a business.
Right.
So if you don't need that much money, they don't need to give you that much money. So that's why, again, it's important to know what you want, know what the company can offer based on their circumstances, and after that, you can create a range and expectations from it.
So what would be the next tip after that?
So that's about as in number 2, or you want
the second? Yeah.
So this is sort of a separate tactic for not necessarily monetary
Come on, guys, get
negotiations.
to it. We want to know what it is. Tell us.
Not necessarily monetary negotiations, but
Okay.
just negotiations in general.
general,
So, a good example is you have, let's say, you have to give someone an offer, and you want to call them, and you know it's gonna be a low offer, but you need to not convey that to them. Or, in fact, you need to convey that it's so bad an offer that what you're actually going to say is actually this will not seem that bad. And you can vice versa as well. So, sort of, you can make them feel like it's too good to be true. I'll give you an example. This will make a little more sense. But let's say you have you didn't make payroll this week, and you have to pay out your contractors or something like that. But you don't have enough money to pay them full price. So you need to, when you call them up, you can't just say, hey, too bad, didn't make payroll this week. That's all I can do. Here's your money. I would be angry because I would start asking like, hey, what's going on? Like, why don't I have my money? Why can't you pay me full price? This is crap. But if I call and I approach that differently and I say, hey, I am so sorry. I have a terrible, lousy offer to give you. Don't be mad at me. It's all I can afford right now. So on the other side of the phone, the person hasn't even heard the offer yet, but they're going, oh, what's he gonna come with?
Right.
He's probably not gonna pay me again for another month, or she's not gonna be paying me again for another month, or But then when you actually say, hey, you're actually gonna receive 90% of your money, they'll go, oh, that's not too bad.
So it's like you're setting them up for the fall.
Exactly. And like I said, you can this sort of pegs off of giving a range and creating those expectations. But just generally how the tone of the conversation and how that's going has a lot to do with what that person is perceiving. So that is very important in creating an atmosphere for getting what you want.
All right.
And I think the final tip, which was my favorite one, there's more tips in the book, but these are just the ones that sort of stood out to me and I think were most applicable in my life. And it's most people don't say no enough, right? They don't use negative connotation of no as much as they should. So, in other words, whenever you're negotiating or you want to get a response from someone, try to get them to say no.
Why?
Because there's more urgency in denying something than there is in accepting something. Now that seems strange, but if I were to ask you, let's say, hey, I just want to follow up. Did you take the trash out last week?
No. Why don't I don't see. I don't see how this is relevant to it. Yeah.
But
he's just trying to call me out again. I get it. I'll take it out soon. We'll negotiate the
exactly. That's a bad example. But all right. So I'll show you how it should work. So if I want to follow up with you on something, I'd say, hey, have you given up on me, for example? And for some reason, the human brain perceives that as like I need to answer and tell you no that I haven't given up on you.
Right.
As opposed to just asking them like, hey, where are we on this? You're less inclined to report to the person and say, oh well, here's an update today. I couldn't do it, blah blah blah. Versus you just saying, oh no, I haven't.
Right.
So it's almost like it creates a sense of urgency. And I mean, try it. I was skeptical at first, and I was like, yeah, I mean, whatever. That sounds strange, but it has worked. I'd say 95% of the time.
So it's just to get them to say no. Does that have some sort of What is that? Is that giving them control? Is that?
No, it's actually taking control away from them. So
Mm.
like it's almost like, hey, I've hit you, and now you have to sort of scramble to get back.
Right.
And I don't know psychologically how to explain that, to be honest,
Mhm.
but it works. So any version of the word no that you can get people to say. So, hey, would it not be a good idea for us to meet up next week? Would it not be a good idea for us to meet up for lunch? And then you can say, oh, no, I think it would be a great idea.
Right.
So it's just rephrasing what you are already saying, right? So that's going back on creating expectations and the atmosphere that you want to eventually get what you want out of someone else.
Right. Right. Okay. So our 5 tips basically: know what you want,
Yeah.
do your research, offer a range. I'm
See,
cheating.
it wasn't
I'm
as
cheating. Distort expectations, and the power of no. Okay. And I think I'll try to give a bonus one because I tried to read the book too. I wanted to be a little bit prepared. I just started though, and my takeaway is, so now that this is more like preparing you for getting to that point of negotiation, right? But now you're sitting at the table, you're face to face with your boss, or like you're sitting across the table from the salesman. You may be the salesman, or you may be the person being sold to. How do you handle that from a step by step basis? So I think the first thing I would say, these are my mini tips. These are more like mini tips, more small actionable things to do once you're sitting down.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I'd say the first thing to do is slow down, lower your voice, think about what it is the person is actually saying. So that's listen. Listen first, and don't listen to respond. Don't listen to form an argument or a rebuttal. Just listen to what it is that they're saying, and that way they feel heard. When someone feels heard, they're more likely to be cooperative than to start an argument. So now that you've listened, you've lowered your voice. Now you want to build some sort of rapport with them. So it's almost like if someone likes you as a person, they're more likely to work with you,
Yeah, yeah.
than not. Sometimes you may offer someone, 2 people could give you the same offer, and one person made you laugh. They came up to you, they sold the product, they had you giggling, they had a little story for you, and you felt like, although the price was the same, for some reason, I'll give him a sale.
Yeah,
He's a cool guy. I like him. That kind of thing.
I don't need that stuff. So we were joking about this the other day. They have this like Colombian expo that comes to St. Lucia. Anybody from St. Lucia knows it. And like these guys are the best salesmen you've ever seen. And you end up going home with all this stuff that you just like, you don't know why you bought it. You don't end up using it, but like they're so captivating and nice, and they make you laugh, and they impress you with this product. You're like, I don't know what it does, but I have to buy it.
Right. So just keeping in mind that the attitude that you bring to the negotiation table matters.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can have a little bit more for you when I finish the book. We may revisit the topic on more.
Yeah, we'll get his views on it.
Yeah. Like we were saying, negotiation. This is more negotiating towards the idea of a salary or a deal that you want. But negotiation takes place in all facets of life. So we'll be looking out for other ways we can apply it and more specialized knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it can even be like asking for more fries, for extra fries when you go to like McDonald's or something, right? Or like a fast food restaurant. So it's just any little thing is it's all about again, knowing exactly what you want, knowing your person, and being able to relate to them eventually, and their perception of the situation. So like he said, are they having fun? Do they, get good energy from me, and will they feel comfortable with trusting me? So, at the end of the day, all those things are gonna come together and be important.
Right. So, Julien, do you have any horror stories from bad deals that you've made, or times you wish that you knew a little bit more about?
I mean,
Anytime somebody fleeced you.
yeah, I think it's. I mean, just general, like you said, not knowing that you don't necessarily have to settle for the first price.
Right.
And I mean, it depends on how crafty the person is, but if they're in that business for long enough, they'll always mark up their price.
Right.
They've already looked at you, how you dress, and what you're doing, and they've made a decision on how much they're going to charge you. And especially from your initial interest and how you approach them and how easily you were able to be, manipulated, they'll jack the price right up.
Yeah.
And then they'll proceed to tell you that it's basically cost for me.
Yeah.
And you're saying, oh boy, like this person. Actually, this is a good example. So I was in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to buy some souvenirs for friends and stuff. And I went to the market. And I was trying to buy these little wine openers, but they were really nice because they were carved and stuff. And they looked really nice. And they were trying to get me to pay like 15 US for it.
This is Mr. Krabs. I know that was not about to happen.
No, but like, in my mind, I was like, that's so expensive. Anyway, I just because I'm cheap, it's not because I was good at negotiating, but just because I try to not spend money. If anyone knows me, I try to not spend money wherever possible.
Yeah.
And I got down to 10. But then I looked at it and I was like, I paid 10 US for that?
Right.
Like, especially because, I mean, like, obviously, you're happy to help out, but the guy was basically in tears, and he was like, I'm already selling you this for less than I'm making off of it. And I believe that. It broke. It broke. It was a gift for somebody, and it broke when they used it. And they were like, hey, was it supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Oh, it was very funny. But that was my instance.
Again, my roommate just walked in. This happened last time as well, but don't be alarmed. So Julien, we have a little segment. I thought you had a little segment planned for us today, but I don't know if you.
Nothing.
Oh, he's not prepared.
All right. So, real talk or bullshit?
Can we even say that? BS. Real talk or BS?
I guess you can edit that out too.
Yeah.
All right, real talk or BS? So,
don't demonetize us, please.
So John L's speed round is in out, and then mine is real talk or BS. So, real talk or BS? Can you at any point have serious conversations over text message?
Can you? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
And why not? What if you're scared? You gotta talk to the person.
Then grow up, get some balls, man up, or woman up, or person up. 2019, I don't know. Don't cancel me. Careful. But no, I mean, what are we, 13? I remember when you were like, when I was in high school, middle school, you didn't want to face someone, so you said something to them over text, but
break up with them or something.
Yeah, I guess the new thing is to do it over WhatsApp voice messages.
It's like messable for
Yeah. At least they have the courage to say it out loud, but not to your face.
Yeah.
But I think it's not just a courage thing. I think so much comes down to tonality. Like we were discussing earlier, part of negotiation has to do with your tone, your body language. All of that comes into play, especially when you're trying to have a serious conversation. The last thing you want is for the other person to misinterpret something simple and that spiral into a bigger problem. Yeah. I've had that happen to me, where you say something over text or you say something without making eye contact even, and they don't realize that you're joking, or not just joking, or you don't mean it in a certain way. And I think text is just too easy to misinterpret, and you don't want to deal with that. I would stay clear of trying to have serious conversations over text. Maybe you might want to alert the person that, hey,
this is what we're talking about. Yeah.
But don't say we need to talk and then wait the rest of the day, because that gives people anxiety. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
But just be like, hey, can I talk to you? Can I call you?
It's
serious. Or
It's,
whatever.
I met like both types of people. I met like people who are like they call you, they're very direct. Like that's nothing to them. I mean, it's just how you grew up and the environment that you're in, right? But there are also some people that are shy and they feel like, hey, this will be easier for me to do this way. But
Right, because it's less confrontational.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. It is a lot easier to just call people up, and if they're shy as well, you generally get your way because they don't have time to respond.
Yeah.
So that's all right. All right.
Yeah, but just don't send a WhatsApp voice message because that's too one-sided.
Yeah.
Inside jokes, don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Real talk or BS? Can
Right.
guys and girls actually be friends? That's a tough one.
It's not tough. I'd say
You're thinking about it.
I would say yes, but no new friends. I think you can have old girlfriends, like girls that you grew up with that have known you for long, and when you met them, they've grown up with you, and you couldn't even see them as anything but like a friend, family situation.
Yeah.
But I don't want any new girlfriends. If I'm meeting girls today, and I I don't want to say it's impossible, but for me at least, I usually talk to girls I'm attracted to.
And then what?
And if I'm attracted to you, I don't want to be
like
friends.
at what point is it like?
Can you clarify what you mean by
I mean, like, all right, if you're in a relationship.
Uh-huh. After a breakup?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
No, after a
okay.
breakup.
Oh, and you have
In a
other
relationship
friends.
And you have friends that are girls. At what point is your significant other like justifiably can say, "Boy, well, like you going out and eat food, you go to the movies, like that's things you go do with your boys, go for drinks, right?" But
I don't want to put anybody in hot water right now. Like somebody's girlfriend is listening to this right now, being like, "See, I told you you can't have no friends, no girlfriends." Yeah. I'm gonna just stop right there and say, I personally try not to be friends with girls because, there's a certain dynamic there that's just off-putting and it's not for me. I want to say it's not possible, but it's not for me.
all right, last one. Real talk or BS?
Right.
How much should you judge someone on their initial appearance? Or should you judge someone on their initial
Should
appearance?
you judge someone?
Because, and I say that because I have met like some people and my first impression of them, like visually, is like, yo.
Drop my shirt. Let go of my shirt, sir.
But then you actually talk to them and you're like, yo, like I'm actually, so what do you think about that? Should you take it into consideration? Should you block them out because certain people have certain traits that, hey, I see this, I'm gonna avoid that, or do you just give them the benefit of the doubt and then once you talk to them, you figure things out from there?
The way I look at it, you should consciously give them the benefit of the doubt because subconsciously you've already judged them. And there's nothing you can do about that subconscious part of your brain that's going to judge based on its experiences and biases that we all have. So I think it's important.
Please judge a lot.
Yeah, so somebody like me, like I have dreads, right? And hair in the States, like it's not as big a deal anymore because I think it's been normalized by a lot of like professional athletes and things like that where it's different than in the Caribbean where in the Caribbean it's like so only Rastafarians are seen as people who have locks and they have a certain culture that they go about and they have a certain perception that you're like you dirty or something like that and they're just generally frowned upon a lot more back home and even here to a certain extent.
I think it's like hair.
Right.
HERE.
Hair.
Your hair
Yes.
is perceived as like a style.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's just a style.
Yeah, it's a style.
But like in the Caribbean, your hair is like your religion, right?
Right.
And especially like at least my family, like the old, like older folks, like
Right.
they'd be like, you have to have your hair cut, like you have to be clean cut,
Mhm.
and that's just like how we were raised,
Right.
right? And that's the thing, like I know you have dreadlocks. Like I not like there's no reason to judge you. Like it's just your hair. Like that's
Right.
like, you have nothing to do with you as a person, and that's kind of good because you can see that like anybody can grow their hair.
Yeah.
Like it don't necessarily have anything to do with who they are. So
Exactly. I mean, no. Okay, so one thing about Rastafarians, for those of you who don't know, they're not supposed to eat any meat or anything like that, right? So they're supposed to be pescatarians at most. Most are vegetarians.
yeah.
Now, when I go back home, I enjoy indulging in a little bit of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. And every single time I go on the line, as soon as I enter the door, I open the door, and it's just eyes on me like you'd swear they saw a ghost. I'm like, there's a term for us back home, it's called chicken ras. I'm like, I'm a chicken ras. What you gonna do? It's just funny things like that. But I mean, it doesn't bother me as much as it did before. Now I just laugh about it and move on. I can't say that I've ever knowingly been discriminated against just for having my hair. I can't say for sure, but I haven't.
I think until you are in a situation, because I've been judged because I like for work and stuff. I sometimes go into some very serious meetings, and the initial thought, well, now I finally grew a beard, so people think I'm a little older, but like the initial thought is like, who is this kid that they send in?
Take it seriously.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of an accent, so they're like, oh my goodness, they sent some island. Like, what? Like, is this a joke? They send the B team, But it's only after I start, after I open my mouth and I start. And yeah, even they don't know how I dress, Like, I can be like shirt and tie, suit, very professional, but it's just some people, the initial impressions are, a young fella, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And like I think it's then I realized, am I doing the same thing to other people?
Yeah.
Because I can't blame them. Like generally younger people are not as experienced. So,
exactly. Wow, I can't believe we've spoken for over 30 minutes so quickly.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up right now. But just going back to where we started with the negotiation, Bryce, just run us one more time the tips, negotiating tips.
So just to run you all through again, make sure you know what you want. So have a very clear idea of exactly what you're negotiating for and why you want it, right? Because that's how you're going to build your argument. Do your research. So find out about, what you want to buy, how long it's been on the market, what's the price range, if you can find a cost of it, like the raw cost of it, whatever, compare it to something 5 years ago, whatever research you can find, that'll help. Always offer, these two kind of go together, offer range and distort perceptions is create your own reality. Like create the reality that you want them to perceive and create the environment that you want them to perceive, right? So now that you know where you are, let's take them to bring them onto your terms, right? And then last is mix up your delivery. So the way you're delivering stuff doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong content-wise, but try saying it a different way and you'll be surprised at the different responses you get.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Julien, for being our resident expert today. All right. And we hope you all were able to learn something. If you all have any other questions or ideas for our next show, we'd love to hear them in the comments.
Oh yeah, and thanks for all the feedback.
Thank you so much for all the feedback we got on the first show. It was amazing the response we got, and we realized it's something that we have to continue doing.
Absolutely.
And before you go, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you know when we release our next episode. We're trying to get more on a consistent schedule, but Julien travels a lot, so for now we're just trying to feel it out with where we're releasing. But as soon as we have a better schedule, we'll let you guys know. It might be Fridays. We'll post every Friday. Well, we'll get to that. But for now, just help us get off the ground and subscribe. It goes a long way. And thank you for listening today.
All right.
Rising Adults signing off.